Oh, howdy. Welcome back to my channel. This time, we're under Project Belmont. And I'm just going to be honest. It's not really a good sign. So I noticed a few days ago while I was driving around, a little bit of a rattle and just some noises I wasn't used to hearing from the little truck. And I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I thought, well, I did a clutch. So maybe, just maybe, it's rattled loose a little bit. You know, I mean, sometimes when you put these transmissions back together, they'll bind up a little bit. You'll get it on there, what you think is all the way. And drive it for a little bit, and it will start to act up. And then you'll go, oh boy. You might not want to shift good, especially if you're in a hurry shifting, doing a little bit of power shifting, and stuff like that. Well, turns out, I climbed underneath here, and it looks like, so far, I have lost... Oh, that one's still there. That one's still there, and that one's still there. Anyway, the two lower bolts were most definitely loose. Oops, let me turn you. The two lower bolts were most definitely very loose. I just got done tightening those back down. I'm going to put a wrench on basically everything else I can put a wrench on. Just to make sure that I got stuff semi-tight again. And then we're going to get into what exactly the main goal of this video was going to be today. So, you guys hang with me. Let me get this all tightened up, and I will see you topside. Hey, you guys are back. Welcome back now that we're out from underneath the truck. So, this is, you guys are now on top of Project Belmont, right? It's sitting over in the engine bay. So, again, on a cell phone. I'm trying to get this done before I go to work. Full disclosure, I did mess up. And when I bought stuff for a tune-up, which is what I was planning on doing today, I forgot to get plug wires. So, this truck is actually, even though it's a 4-cylinder, it takes 8 spark plugs. I might get lucky, pull them, and not have any issues, but more than likely, as old as everything else has been on this truck, when I start pulling the spark plug wires, I have a feeling they're going to break, and then I'm going to need new wires, so I'm just going to order some. I don't even feel like running out to AutoZone. I'm just going to order them. But we are going to go through, I'll try to talk you through the best I can, kind of what you need to do, stuff like that. But what we are going to do, and what's very important, and what I think, and many people will tell you, is the most important thing for longevity on your vehicle is an oil change. Now, I bought this truck. I have no clue when the last oil change was done. There is a sticker in the window. That sticker in the window says that it's been over a year. My dog's running away. Give me a second. Valkyrie, stay here. So, now that I'm back, I got to keep the little puppy close to me. So, however, you get an old vehicle like this, and one of the things that's interesting that you will soon find out, I'm going to adjust y'all just a hair more there, is with older vehicles, sometimes they'll tick, sometimes they'll rattle, they'll do little things, the lifters will tick. Obviously, I mean, there's 99,000 miles on this truck at least. No telling how much is really under it. But if you get one that's a little noisy, what I'm going to show you is not going to fix a rod knock. But if it's just a lifter, it's from some dirty oil where people didn't keep it up done, you got some options. You can flush the engine. But an old backyard mechanic trick for flushing the engine is this right here. And what this is just some cheap automatic transmission fluid. This was the cheapest they had sitting there. I got it, I think I paid $5 or $6 for a quart of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the engine. I'm going to run it till it gets up to operating temperature. Then I'm going to drain that oil. That oil is going to come out looking really nasty because automatic transmission fluid is absolutely full of detergents and it will clean a crap ton of stuff. What I'm going to do at that point is I'm going to refill the engine with oil. Just some cheap oil. This engine takes 520. It was cheaper for me to get some 10. Or this engine takes, let me find it, it's 530. This engine takes 530. It was easier for me just to get some 1030. It'll be fine on this old of an engine. I'm not going to stress over it, especially for as limited time it's going to be in there. Basically, I'm going to put that oil in there, crank the truck up, let it run 5 or 10 minutes, shut it down, drain that oil, and that is when I'm going to do the actual oil change on the vehicle. And at that point, I will be changing the filter, which is right here. I will be putting the 520 oil in, which I got sitting down here. It's STP. They just had a deal on it. And then I'm also going to change out the air filter. When I got the oil filter and oil, it was free to get the air filter. We're going to change this out. Looking at it, I may or may not have the right one. You're probably going, why do that when you're going to put a Kohler intake in it? The reason why is it was free for me to have the filter. So pick it up, throw it in there. It can't hurt. Basically, when it comes time to do the intake, I'm going to do the intake. I'm going to do the exhaust, which will include the headers, and I'm going to do the nitrous install at the same time. So I still need one more piece for the nitrous. I'm going to get that ordered here shortly, and then we'll be good. But anyway, let's pop this oil cap. It smells nasty. Let's do this. My dog has run away again. She's probably laying down by my feet somewhere. I'm just not seeing her. Another neat little trick. If you pour it from the back side, it lets the air stay here so you don't get that chug. So if I was smart, I'd go get my funnel, but I'm already committed. Let's see if we can, I made a mess. Spilt a little, it'll be okay. Now, what you do not want to do is you do not want to run this in your engine just like it's regular oil. It will not work. This is going to thin out the oil a little bit. If you're doing this and it goes from, just starts to get really loud all of a sudden, just shut it down. You don't want to run this straight. I'm just throwing a quart of oil in there. It might be slightly over full, but this is an older engine. It leaks some oil. That's just all there is to it. So, there we go. Click, click, click. And I'll get back with y'all when we climb underneath it. Alrighty, let's get back at it. So, let it run for a little bit, just bring her up to some operating temperature, shut her down. Things you're going to need for this job. Besides the oil filter, which you'll have to look up for your vehicle, I recommend a strap wrench or some way to get oil filter off. They stick. Be hard to get off. You do want the vehicle up to temp even if you're not putting stuff in it to do a flush. You want to do that, it's just easier for the oil to come out. You need something to catch the oil in. Do not go dumping this oil off in a ditch or something. Most auto parts store will take your old oil for free. Please take it there, dispose of it properly. The last thing you are going to need to do this job, besides something to lay on when you're underneath the vehicle, and a way to get the vehicle in the air so you can get to it. Actually, with this truck, I could do it without doing that, but I used a set of ramps, just put it in the air, made it easier to climb under it. But what you're going to need is you're going to need the right socket set or wrench to get your nut off. So, let's go ahead and get this truck in the air. This radiator's hot. Let's go ahead and get this truck in the air. And let's get this job started. we're back under the truck again. So, got it up on the ramps. I'm sure y'all saw that. Got my bucket here. It is sitting under my, sitting under the oil pan. You do want to pay attention to this. You want to make sure you're draining from the oil pan. This being a manual transmission, there's really only one pan to drain from. If you got an automatic transmission, you want to be the one that's attached to the engine, not the one that's attached to your transmission. If you start draining it and it comes out red, you're draining your transmission. Plug it back up. So, let's try to figure out and guesstimate what size this is going to be. Try 12 millimeter socket. Ooh. So I'm looking at this. Somebody has used an adjustable wrench and they did not do a good job when they were using it. This means that this may not be a fun job. I may be having to get some other stuff out. Feels like that grabbed pretty good. Anyway, people, if you were doing these, you need to use the correct tools. If you do use an adjustable wrench, make sure you're using the right one. You can see how it looks kind of rounded. If this fits on there, we're going to try to make it work. Okay, I just adjusted you a little bit just so you can see. This is the drain. As you can tell, it's an old truck. It's a little nasty looking. We'll get it figured out. Now, the socket set that I'm using is a little different than most other socket sets. It actually allows stuff to pass all the way through. I don't have to worry about how long it is. That's not an issue here. Just a regular socket set or wrench, something that fits on there good. Like I said, you don't want to round it off. They probably used, instead of a metric, they were probably using a standard, or like I said, they used one of those adjustable wrenches, which I carry with me when I go to junkyards. I don't really use them all that much. But this is a Craftsman set. I've had it. I've used it a lot. I used it when I was a Mazda mechanic. That is one thing. If you are a mechanic, just like your backyard mechanic, and you make a job out of it, just remember that if you get a shop that has a lift, if you ever have to leave that for any reason, you are going to not realize how much you love that lift until you're missing it. Okay. Put it on loosen. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. And she's loose. Now then, something else you will need for this job is a rag. Again, I got my bucket right here. We're going to put this down. We're going to see how nasty this is coming out. That is on there tight. Might be using this a little more. There we go. I will put the bucket up here. This is more just to catch it so it don't splash as bad. Got it. There's the good nasty stuff. It is actually not that bad. It's not chunky. Some of these are magnetic. I don't know if this one is. That smells like old oil. I can smell it. Of course, I did put transmission fluid in there, so that might be some of what I'm smelling. So, I've actually done 2 oil changes this weekend. I did my Kia too. So my Kia is my work vehicle. I drive that 300 miles every day. So I'm going to clean this off. Really, I should replace that seal. Should replace that seal, but it doesn't look horrible. I'm going to let this drip for a good little bit, okay? So, you guys are also where I'll be climbing here in a minute to try to get to that oil filter. So, let's let this drip. I want to get as much of this out as I can. Alrighty, we're back on top. Some of y'all are probably going, wait a minute, what about the oil filter? Well, remember, like I said earlier, we're doing this twice. So, one thing I forgot to mention was a funnel. Makes it easier to pour stuff in. This funnel really is kind of small. I could cut it if I wanted to make it fit a little, make it quicker or whatever, but I use it for a lot of different things. All oil changes, just different sizes. So, remember, We're going to throw this cheap stuff in there. I'm going to run it again for just a couple of minutes, just flushing the rest of the trans fluid out of the system, making sure I get a good clean swap, and then we'll put the real oil in. So this is just cheapo 1030 from Walmart, Super Tech Dino Blood oil. So this is conventional. I will probably switch over to a synthetic if I didn't already grab a synthetic, but I'm going to run conventional in it for a little bit. As long as you keep up with your oil changes, the important part is staying within the allotted mileage of your oil. So a conventional 5,000 miles. A lot of your new synthetics are good for between 75 and 10,000. I actually run a 15,000 mile synthetic in my Kia, which at this current moment has 266,000 miles on it, because I drive a lot for work. So this is a 5-quart jug. It looked like I'd opened it, so I probably used a little bit out of here. This takes roughly 5 quarts. Probably 4.5. With the filter, I just usually use 1 jug and call it quits. Overfilling one, you do need to be careful not to overfill your oil. If you overfill your oil too much, you can cavitate oil. The crank will spin around and hit the oil and it'll foam it. And when it does that, it will not pump through the system properly because it's trying to pump air, basically. And then bad things happen because you starve your engine of oil. There is no more no more oil pressure. Starve the engine of oil. Your rods start eat the bearings out and then start going knock, 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 knock. And on this engine, it'd probably knock for a good little while. More powerful engine, it definitely breaks something, and then you end up with a rod sticking out the side of the engine or out the bottom of the oil pan, and not good stuff. So, take this rag. Ooh, I shouldn't have done that with that rag. Oh well. Too late now, we're committed. Did you guys see what I did with that oil cap? Nope, I found it. There we go. Put the oil cap back on just so it doesn't spray out everywhere. Let's do this and wipe that down a little better. I need to wash that thing. You can sit there for now. And then let's get this thing fired up. We'll let it run for a couple of minutes. Welcome back. Alrighty, we got the second one done. We're gonna snug this up. And it doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to snug it up. That can sit there. This will go here. I got so much work to do on this old thing. But this is part of buying one. So, what we are going to look for next is that guy right there. That is the filter. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bucket, which I have emptied, my strap wrench, I'm going to loop it over the filter and try to pull it off. When you put these things on here, guys, you just want to get it snug. You don't have to have it on there like it's been impacted on to where it'll never come off. Maybe we'll get lucky. Nope. Say maybe we get lucky, I can pop it off by hand. Sadly, it does not appear that is the case. So, we are going to try and get up in here without getting my hair into everything. And then if this doesn't work, I will go get my other tool. And it looks like I'll need my other tool. So. And for the record, both oils that came out looked absolutely horrendous. So, yep, whoever put this on there put it on way too tight, or it's been on so long that it seized up. Okay, I had to go get my actual tool. Most of the time I can get them off with that strap wrench, but apparently this was not one of the most of the times. Hopefully this actually fits and works. Oh, no, don't hit me in the head. Part of the issue is just it's hard to get to. It's not super hard. It's not like it's impossible or anything like that. There's just hoses and stuff like that in the way. So you gotta okay. It's not working either. Now, one thing this little kit did come with is an adapter, so you can use regular stuff on it. So let's try this again. There we go. She started to move. Popped it out. It started to budge. Come on. No. Where'd it go? Now, this will be some stuff that other channels will cut out. I'm going to leave it on here so you guys can get an idea where we're at and what's going on. But basically, whoever did the oil change severely over tightened this. So the name is actually on there, and they will do a lot of that at little shops. So if you all of a sudden say, hey, my car blew up, they can look at it and go, we didn't do that oil filter. My name's not on that oil filter. There we go. I think that's enough for me to loosen up my hand now. Well, that sucked. But it's loose now. So, let's stick this over here like so. It's probably going to make a mess when it starts to come loose. Aha. See, I missed it. Now, that looks nasty coming out of there. Uh-oh. So there is stuff in the oil. Now, whether or not that's actually in the oil or just leaking off the side of the block, I don't 100% know. I'm doing my best to catch most of it. That is some nasty stuff coming out of there. So it was Valvoline. And then there it goes. So this was done somewhere. Now, this is making a huge mess everywhere. And that's the reason why I said this truck is filthy. Honestly, I would like to pull the whole truck out, pull the whole engine out, and see what we end up with. So let's get this filter free. Uh-oh. This filter looks much bigger than that filter. Much bigger than that filter. See? Now then, the seals are lined up the same. So I'm wondering if somebody put the wrong filter on the truck the first time. Because I did look the filter up, but the easiest way to find out will be, does it fit? Because if it doesn't fit, it's screwing on. Okay. And then I'm not going to put any tools on this or anything like that. Just snug it like that and I am done. So I'm going to also wipe this down some just so if it does start to pee a whole bunch of oil out, I catch it from the way it looks instead of going, ah, well, this happened. So get the tools where I can reach them when I'm out from underneath the truck. And then the next time y'all see me, we will be back up top. We're going to put some oil in it. And then I'm going to take a second to talk you through some spark plug stuff. And that should be it for this video. Okay, we are back up top. Funnel. And the good stuff. So, this is 5W30. It is a high mileage motor oil. It looks like it's a conventional. Let's see here, I don't remember. High mileage, yeah, I'm going to assume that it's conventional. It's for vehicles with high miles on them. Of course, I got 5 quarts, 3.47 liters. If you look on the back of it, you'll have all your information. You can actually get online at a website. It's a government-run website. You can look up this number. It'll tell you everything you need to know about your oil. So, I'm probably going to run just some 5 regular motor oil through it for a good little bit. What I'm trying to do is flush it out. The fact that that oil filter had a name on it that is more than likely from, you know, a service department or someplace that did an oil change means that more than likely the oil that was in this truck was probably pretty old. So me flushing it was probably a good thing. I will say the second set of oil that come out looked nasty. The first set came out pretty dark too. So, but it'll probably be a good few oil changes before I'm starting to get happy with it. As long as we don't get a death rattle, that's all I really care about. This oil change is taking longer than it should have, I will say that. So, there's a learning curve on setting that camera up, hitting play, trying to figure it out. And if you can't tell by the videos, I'm doing most of this in just one take. Whatever it comes out is however it comes out. You know, this is a learning curve. And so I apologize. Any constructive criticism is welcome. If you just want to be on here to bash me, don't want to hear it. I mean, say whatever you want to say, I probably just won't listen to you. One thing I do want to say right now is that this truck won't get a V8 ever. that's not the point of this truck. It would be a good candidate for one. Strip it out, put a little 302 in here, and make a nice little truck out of it. You know, there's nothing wrong with going that route if you want to go that route. That's just not the route I want to go. I've raced everything. I've had Miatas, I've had Corvettes. There's a Prius off camera, which I don't plan on keeping. It was given to me, and I don't have time to mess with it. You know, I race motorcycles, everything. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not brand specific or anything like that. But I have been mostly for my life a V8 guy. I like big lumpy V8s. I like big blocks. I like superchargers. I'm not a big turbo fan. They're great, just not for me. It's not what I fell into. I cut my teeth on nitrous and superchargers, and I'll probably stay nitrous and superchargers till they put me in a box and put me in the ground. So, you know, again, got nothing against them. They make good power. Just not for me. Yeah. So, there we go. You guys remember where I put that cap? On the battery. So that is the oil change in a very extended way on a 1990 Ford Ranger with the 2.3 liter 8 plug head. The reason why I say 8 plug is that they do make an older version of this. This engine originated in like a Pinto, was the base of it if memory serves. Came in the SVO Mustang. It came in a ton of other little Rangers and stuff like that, of course. 4-cylinder T-Birds, 4-cylinder Mustangs. It's known as the Lima because that was the plant it came out of. But I don't know the exact year they swapped over, but the older ones have one set of plugs down one side, which I want to say was this side if memory serves. The newer ones have a set of plugs going down the other side. So that is why I keep saying 8 plug or 4 plug or this, that, and the other. This head is an 8 plug head. Speaking of spark plugs, I was hoping to do this in the video. Like I said earlier on, I forgot to order wires, and I kind of want to be able to drive the truck if I need to, so I'm not literally looking at trying to break wires. But I do have them. As you can see here, I had them upside down. I'm going with some coppers. I'm going with coppers for the nitrous setup. Once I'm happy with the nitrous setup, if I'm not melting plugs and other stuff, I will probably go to iridium plugs. But for now, we're going to start out with copper plugs. I won't be surprised if I pull these out and they are Motorcraft and I find out they're the original. Everything else I've looked on this truck basically looks original to the truck. So I just won't be surprised if I pull it apart and they're original plugs, and therefore the plug wires are original and they'll fall apart when I start pulling them apart. When you do spark plugs, you need a spark plug gapper. You can pick these up cheap. They will allow you to gap your spark plugs. This is important. If your gap is too big, you'll blow the plug out, meaning that you won't create spark, it won't create fire, and you'll get a miss. Basically, it would be like, same thing happens if you run your plugs too long in the engine and you wear them down after like hundreds of thousands of miles. In a bind, I have pulled plugs out, re-gapped them, and got a good set of life out of them because the gap for the arc was strong enough to keep it going. If you have a vehicle and you do not know what your spark plug gap is, besides checking in the owner's manual or online or any of those things, you can climb underneath your engine hood and there should be a thing. Mine says Ford Motor Vehicle Company, important vehicle information. And if you look at it, you'll see all the information, and right down in here you'll see where I found the oil. And then if we go down here, 2.3 liter spark plug, there's the gap, 0.42, 0.042, 0.046. It also has some information on how to set your vehicle timing, what it needs to be at. This is a little vacuum and vacuum hose routing diagram, stuff like that. Now then, I will be gapping these close to the 4.2. Honestly, I'll probably go to a 4.0, just 0.002 smaller gap. And I'm tightening that up because when I run the nitrous on it, you're running extra fuel, you're running the nitrous through it, of course, and that means you take a chance of it blowing out the spark. If it blows out the spark, you basically lose it and you're spraying extra stuff down the system. So, and when the spark does find the extra stuff, you get a hell of a backfire. That will be it for this video. The next video I plan to do is the back end's been banged up. I'm going to try to beat that out somewhat, enough that I can put the new taillights in and do a little other just backyard body work on it, try to make it look a little bit better. And then after that, hopefully I will have the spark plug wires in and I'll have the time to tear this thing apart enough to do the exhaust, the cold air intake, the nitrous, and the plugs at that point in time. So, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you, and get out there and work on something.